What's going on, YouTube? Claic Yuzolt back again with another Final Fantasy Brave Exvius kind of banner review. We're talking about the 7-star upgrades of some of the biggest names in Final Fantasy history, Cloud and Sephiroth. And Cloud even got some ability awakenings, so let's get into it. So the time is finally here. I know a lot of you guys out there have been waiting for Cloud Strife 7-star, and then we've also been waiting for Sephiroth 7-star, and we want to know what exactly they get. Does Cloud get much better with his enhancements, and how exactly do they work as 7-star? Are they going to be useful to you? How do you use them at 7-star? Well, I'm going to try my best in this video to talk about that. First up with our boy Cloud Strife.
Good to see you, Cloud.
So guys, Cloud is a finisher first and foremost, meaning that he's going to be able to go in and cap off the chain with a big multiplier damage hit that only hits once, but it benefits from maybe imperils or, you know, the chain being built all the way up, and hitting with that big multiplier. The next positive for Cloud that he uses is his back-loaded limit burst. His limit burst is what Cloud is all about. It's very high damage. Even at a 7-star, it gets even more damage. And most of that multiplier and that big hit is at the end of it, meaning you can, you know, chain it up. And as long as you get that last hit in at the end of a chain, you're going to be doing a lot of the damage that the LB has altogether. Now, we do have some negatives with Cloud to talk about. He is very one-dimensional. Even at his 7-star, he is pretty much used as a finisher and as an LB producing monster. Essentially, you want to get his LB up and use that as much as possible. He does have Climb Hazard to kind of finish off a little bit, and he has a little bit of chaining capabilities now, opening up a bit with the Kingdom Hearts Cloud coming out, but not really that much. So essentially, he's used for one purpose and one purpose only, and that is going to be using his limit burst to finish off people and do massive damage. If we go ahead and bring up his, you know, character ability enhancements or ability awakenings that we did get introduced. Now, this is going to be coming at a later date. First up, we have Climb Hazard that's getting increased, and I'm only going to talk about the ones I think that you should increase. So, Climb Hazard was his go-to ability. It hits really quick. It's easy to fit at the end of chains to finish with, and that was my go-to before if the limit burst wasn't filled up. And we are increasing that attack by a 1x multiplier. Now, it's not huge, it's not massive, but if you upgrade it twice, you know, you're going to get a little bit more damage out of that, which is nice. I mean, more damage. If you're going to be using Cloud, I would enhance this because you're going to be using this a lot of the time. Next up, we had his Soldier First class get upgraded, which is great. That is going to be 10% to attack, magic, spirit, defense, HP, and MP. And then it's also going to give him 30% attack with a greatsword equip, which we are going to be putting a greatsword in Cloud's hand. How could we not, on top of the fact that, you know, most of the time we do want to put a large sword in his hand because he has a lot of large swords or greatsword passives. Next up, J.E.N.O.V.A cells gets enhanced, so we get nullification to these status elements. Sleep, poison, silent, stone, and we get 30% HP on top of that. Anytime one of these awakenings give you some HP, attack, defense, spirit, most of the time you're going to want to take it up on it. And J.E.N.O.V.A cells is one you definitely want to do because with this enhancement, he becomes completely resist to all status elements, which is extremely powerful. And last but not least, I would enhance aggression. You guys are going to be getting an LB fill rate 50% up, which is great, phenomenal, because you want to have Cloud's LB up as much as possible. And then you also get a 20% attack added on, trying to slowly but surely reach that 400% cap on attack before you go into combat, meaning he does more damage and hits a lot harder. There, he has one more enhancement we're not going to talk about too much. It increases his counter odds and his counter damage he would do. Cloud shouldn't be taking that many hits anyway. You can try to build up a Cloud tank, I guess, and try to use that. It's not going to be as good as the other counter tanks out there, so I wouldn't worry about wasting your crystal on that at all. Alright guys, moving on to what Cloud gets at 7-star. That's the big change that's happening with him. Let's first talk about his STMR, and that is Ultimate Weapon. It essentially is a fantastic greatsword. It's a 180 attack, super high attack, two-handed, meaning that we're going to be able to get the weapon variants added onto it. Greatsword. So it's going to... A lot of units out there right now are wanting to use greatswords. It's in the meta. This is very similar. It's the exact same weapon that Kingdom Hearts Cloud got. Only Kingdom Hearts Cloud may be getting a plus 10 attack added to his later on if we follow to what JP did to Kingdom Hearts Cloud. This weapon is great. The only problem we have with it is, again, it doesn't have an element. So if you're going to be using this weapon, you either want to be in a fight where you don't want an element, which is very little, or you want somebody to be able to imbue and add an element to this so you can take advantage of elemental chaining, getting that chaining added up faster, or the Imperil, which is amazing with that as well. But let's talk about what Cloud gets at 7-star. He doesn't get very much, I'm sorry to report. Double limit. Gives Cloud the ability to cast a lot of his abilities twice in a turn. So this is going to be Cloud's W cast, which is okay. Essentially, with Climb Hazard, I do believe we're going to be able to fit 2 of those into a chain, considering how fast they come out, and that's pretty much what I want to be using here. Now, maybe we want to chain it up with Meteor Rain and see how that goes. But again, I'm not saying that is pretty much what Cloud is going to be used for. Again, even after looking at his 7-star abilities, it seems like he just wants to be using Climb Hazard and then going straight into using his LB. We do get a cooldown ability called Trigger Smash. It's available turn 1. It has a 5-turn cooldown, but if you count the first turn, it'll be a 4-turn. It cures all attack breaks that are affecting Cloud at the time. Boosts his attack by 250%. That's going to last for 4 turns. It also gives him attack break resist for those 4 turns. And so it's going to buff him up really high. It's going to get rid of any attack break. But it's really boring, to be honest. These are the 2 abilities that Cloud gets at 7-star, and that's it. And honestly, Double Limit just allows him to use abilities twice in a turn. For a finisher, it's not really the greatest. Again, it seems like they really fell down on Cloud when this Final Fantasy VII Cloud, and then when Kingdom Hearts Cloud came out, they really fixed all the problems he had and made a better unit. He also gets some passives, so the first one we're going to look at here is Buster Style Plus. This is going to require his TMR Buster Style, so this is going to be like his TMR ability. It did get buffed from the Japanese version. We get a whopping 70% attack. That is nothing to, be wary about. He is going to be very high attack. You're probably for sure going to be able to hit that attack percent pre-combat, especially with weapon enhancements from the item world. And then it also adds 50% true double hand to his kit, meaning he's going to be all the way up to 150% pre-combat. You only need 150% from his actual, equipment, and you're already getting 100 from Buster Style, so you only need 50% more. So, a Martial Glove or the Kingdom Hearts Cloud Cloak, things like that, and you're going to be done when it comes to Cloud and trying to figure out his 300% for his true double hand. Next up, he gets an attack 20% passive. That's just going to come with leveling him up. And then he gets another ability that was buffed from the Japanese version, Memories of Friends. His increase to limit burst damage is up by 30%, and we want that. We want more LB damage. When you build up Cloud, you're probably building him for LB damage and attack percent and true double hand anyway, so that's great to be added on. Meteor Rain gets a 0.3 times increase. There's a 0.5 increase to a lot of abilities that you probably aren't going to be using anyway. And then Climb Hazard, like I said, his go-to ability gets increased to a 1.25 times increase. So if you enhance that, I do believe it goes all the way up to a 10 times increase, which is actually phenomenal. I really enjoy that. I just really love Climb Hazard. You guys can tell. There's a little bit of bias going into that, but that's all right. And that is all he gets when it comes to passives at 7-star, sadly. Moving on over, we got to know how much his limit burst goes up or if it changes at all. And Omnis Slash goes from a 21 times multiplier limit burst to a 25 times, getting a 4 times limit burst increase. Kingdom Hearts Cloud pretty much has the same limit burst, but does more damage. I think it's like 32 times right now, and eventually Kingdom Hearts Cloud 7-star will get upgraded to the Japanese version and do even more damage. So sadly, I wish they would have made just this, at least Omnislash, do as much damage as the other Kingdom Hearts Cloud, the other version of Cloud we have in the game, Kingdom Hearts Cloud. They didn't do that, so that's going to be a little bit rough on Cloud here, but yeah, so these are the changes he got at 7-star. I want to go over, before I get my final thoughts on Cloud and where he's useful, which we've kind of talked about, but I want to go over a couple of builds. We're going to go over an STMR build like Best in Slot, then we're going to go over a TMR build, and then we'll go over a non-STMR and TMR build and see how that really works for us when you're trying to build up Cloud. Alright guys, as you're looking over these builds, I did want to say that these aren't like the most best in slot or optimal builds. These are just example builds to get you guys started. They're going to be 3 different categories. I'm always going to have you guys have resistance to Paralyze, Confuse, and Petrify, simply because you need that on a friend unit. And most battles you're going to need that. Now for yourself, you can switch that up, but for a friend unit, I always feel like those 3 are good to go with. These are generated from a website called FFBEequip.com. It essentially is a great website. If you've never checked it out, please check it out. And I'll try to have more of these on my videos as they go through. So, screenshot if you can, pause, and then try to learn. So guys, that is Cloud's 7-star upgrade coming to Global. Now he does get a little bit more attack, like I said, a little bit more strength when it comes to his kit, but his kit is just not good. It falls from a lot of the problems. You know, he's a finisher, and finishers really become lackluster. I'm not saying that you can't use Cloud. I'm just giving you my personal opinion. You could obviously use Cloud. I love using Cloud, but finishers became a little bit more lackluster when units like Hyo, Sora, all of these different kinds of hybrid units started finishing their chains for themselves. That's why you see the little bit and the big hit at the end. That's a backloaded chain, and Hyo really changed the meta when that came out, putting finishers a little bit even more on the back burner. On top of that, Cloud really doesn't have the strength to power up through most of the other units. He will be useful. He will be able to dish out the damage, but not as much as maybe the higher tier units. He doesn't have anything to imbue himself with an element, so that sticks us with maybe using an outside imbue or possibly just putting on a non-two-handed greatsword into his hand, missing out on the weapon variants unless you're lucky enough to have a Bahamut's here. Wish I would have got that. And then he also cannot imperil, so you're going to have an outside imperiler. Most of the time, your chainer will take care of that, so that's not really that big of a negative. But, again, Cloud is just in that wheelhouse of being very one-dimensional and one-trick pony, finishing with his LB, and sadly, his 7-star didn't fix that, but he's still going to be a lot of fun to try to cap off chains with Omnislash, use Climb Hazard, and dish out some damage. So next up, we're going to be talking about Sephiroth, his arch-rival, and what exactly happened with Sephiroth at 7-star.
Is to sail the darkness of the cosmos with this planet as my vessel. Just as my mother did long ago.
Alright guys, so Sephiroth is going to be a chainer, a physical damage dealing chainer, meaning he's going to be able to chain up, do a lot of damage, and actually have a lot of fun doing it. Sephiroth is one of the many chainers in the game, but the cool thing about Sephiroth is he does not lack any kind of chaining family, guys. He has Omnislash family, he has Divine Runation family, he has Onion Slice family. On top of that, with his 7-star, he actually unlocks Quick Hit family, and then also Absolute Mirror of Equity, or AT chaining, that you guys may have heard from, you know, future units like Axstar, meaning that he has chaining families that even go way into the future. He can't be outdated. He's a cool friend unit because he can chains with everybody. It's actually insane. And one of the only negatives I can find about Sephiroth, to be honest, is that he doesn't get W cast, because we are going to be building him true double hand. That's going to be the best way to build him until he gets his ability Awakening. So he kind of was like falling behind again. True dual wield, not the best. But when his ability Awakenings do come to Global, as long as they still allow him to have W cast, he's going to be ridiculous, and he's going to become more powerful. So essentially, you would use Sephiroth to chain up with your favorite chaining buddy, and he has a plethora of them, and do a lot of damage. He also can imperil, and then with his 7-star, we'll look at it in a minute, he can even imbue things onto his own weapons, allowing him to become even more powerful than it already is. So let's go ahead and look into what he gets at 7-star. Alright, starting with his STMR, we have Twisted Hero. This is going to be a materia. It cannot stack, but it's an extremely powerful one. You get 80% attack, 20% defense, magic, and spirit when you're wielding a katana. And yes, this is 80% attack. It's absolutely insane. You are limited to having a katana on your person, but people like Sephiroth, Axstar, eventually katanas become pretty big with the Axstar coming out, and that's going to be in 3 to 4 months. So this is a great TMR to go, STMR, excuse me, to go after. I do not believe personally that I would want to Sephiroth, but that is just my stance when it comes to chainers. You know, I'm going to be using a friend to help me chain up. I don't really need the 2 of them on my team. I want to make mine the strongest I can because I'm probably not going to be able to build 2 up the best, so I'm probably just going to be picking up Twisted Hero. So if you guys have 4 of them, that's going to be pretty exciting for you. Next up, let's look at what abilities he does get at 7-star. And unlike Cloud, he actually gets quite a few of them. So we have Consuming Light and Descent into Darkness. They're both going to be doing 6.9 times physical damage, single target, and they're going to chain, and this is where he gets his Quick Hit chaining family. Now remember, Quick Hit is very difficult to chain more than just one chain, so like one ability of Quick Hit. When you try to start W casting it or dual wielding it, it gets tough to fit it in, and believe me, I've tried for so long with Tidus. But this allows him to go ahead and add, I know at 6-star he had the ability to add Dark to his weapon, but now you can use Descent into Darkness, do a little bit of damage, and add Dark or Light to your weapon if need be, if you would like to add that element with that, if you're using the true double hand build. and you know, you want to put a thing on your thing, excuse me, an element on your weapon, which is going to be great. Next up, he gets some more abilities. He gets Supremacy, which is going to be a 7-time single target with consecutive use all the way up to a 13 times. And this is going to actually build up faster and actually do even more damage than the JP counterpart. This is Sephiroth's best skill when it comes to a 7-star, and it's going to be the AT chaining family, which means he can chain with Sora, Axstar, ton of different people out there he can chain with, but absolute mirror of Equity, I do believe, is the other name for it. AT chaining is like the thing with DR chaining or Divine Ruination chaining, and it is going to be one of the bigger chaining families. You can see it starting to grow now. So again, like I said, Sephiroth has a plethora of abilities that he can use to chain, but optimally, he's going to be wanting to use Supremacy because it's going to be doing the most damage for him, and especially going into the future. He does get one cooldown ability called Tragic End. It's going to be available on turn 5, so you have to wait all the way till turn 5. It has a 5-turn cooldown, counting the turn you use it for a turn cooldown. It's going to cast an 80% AoE death. If that don't work, it's going to be a 17 times AoE one hit. So a big finishing ability he's going to be able to cast if the time comes and you kind of want to do some death action, or you want to do 17 times AoE one hit. Yeah, I can see that being useful in some cases, but I really like the fact that he just has an 80% AoE death. If you get in the arena and things aren't going too well for you and you're sick of all these resistances or whatever, try to AoE and death them, dude. 80% chance. Let's see it happen if you make it to turn 5. Next up, he did get some passives. The first one being the one where you have to have his weapon equipped, the Katana Masamune. Sword of the Hero, 50% attack, 20% defense, magic, and spirit, so a lot of stats here. 10% to your elemental resist, so all elemental resists get put up by 10%. And he gets a 1.1 times modifier put onto Octaslash, which you will have because you have the TMR equipped. Next up, he gets the passive Consummate Technique, 2 times to Aeolian Onslaught and the Heaven's Wept, and 1 times to Heaven's Light, giving him more power for his 6-star abilities, which is always nice if you end up needing to chain with those families like DR chaining or things like that nature. He does get a little bit more power to his 6-star chaining abilities. He also gets an ability called Incomprehensible Power, 50% to his LB fill rate. And then, honestly, the guy's ridiculous. 40% true dual wield and 50% true double hand. So, he does get some passives here that can help him out when it comes to building true double hand or true dual wield. At the beginning here, when you normally have him out there in global, you're probably going to want to go the true dual wield route, considering the fact that he doesn't have W cast yet. So you're going to want to be chaining. He does have AT chaining. He could be doing it with Pyro, Glacial, Lastwell, CG Lastwell. I know a lot of those are running around. It's actually pretty strong. And then afterwards, once we get those enhancements, you are going to want to turn on the true double hand and show off his true power. Then he also has an attack 20% passive he gets from leveling up. These are all sweet. This all makes Sephiroth a very good unit. And then finally, we do need to talk about his limit burst here, One Winged Angel. It goes up from a 12 times multiplier one hitter up to a 23 times, which is pretty big. And then it turns from a 3-turn Imperil, which is, I think it's light and dark 100% if you have it fully leveled up. When we talk about these LBs, we're talking about maxed out here. And it turns into a 5-turn Imperil, which is a long ass time. The problem is it costs so many LB crystals. I know he has LB fill rate up. Maybe you could build him up to build up the LB. It is a nice touch to him, and it's very cool to have. But, you're not always going to be depending on it because it's so much to fill up, etc. So, yep, that is Sephiroth's abilities and what happens to him at 7-star. You can definitely see that it's much more exciting than what they did to Cloud. I don't know what they were thinking. They knew people would love Cloud and Sephiroth. Why they got to leave Cloud in the dust while Sephiroth becomes amazing. Next up, let's look at some Sephiroth builds that you guys can be messing around with now on Global with True Dual Wield. And then later on, we can look at True Double Hand builds. Maybe when the True Double Hand enhancements come out, I can show those off as well. All right, guys, and that's Sephiroth. I think that Sephiroth is going to be amazing. He can contend right now in Global. There's not a lot out there that really needs that power creep. Honestly, you go out there and dual wield him up, true dual wield him up, have some fun with him. And then when he does get his enhancements, which may be way down the road, I do believe it was a while for JP. Who knows with Global these days? They delay, release things early. Who knows what's going to happen? He will become a monster and really fun to use when he does get the W cast. I know a lot of people in JP were super excited about it when that happened, making him a lot better. Overall, guys, Cloud and Sephiroth treated really well. Cloud treated like nothing. So if you're a huge Cloud fan, I really hope you got Kingdom Hearts Cloud, because this Cloud just didn't cut it. But, you know, it's fun covering these units. These are units you grew up with, you had fun with. Cloud still has his uses, but Sephiroth is going to be king when it comes to both of these. In the end, Sephiroth wins this time. So if you guys like this video, give it a thumbs up. Comment down below how you feel about the new style. This takes a lot more work. I do know I'm blowing into the mic a little bit more because I'm recording just my mic instead of my face. So I did hear my sounds a little bit more. But hey, we'll get into that later. Let me know if you have any suggestions or anything like that. I do know I made a couple spelling errors, but I had to keep going. These videos take forever, and then there's also Tifa and Vincent, and holy moly, there's a ton of videos. And then subscribe for future content. We'll catch you guys in the next video.